All right. What is going on, guys? Welcome to episode 1 of The Dispatch. This is going to be a weekly series where I run down some headlines that I'll be accumulating over the course of the week, and then hopefully every Sunday night I'll be able to do this live stream. Should last around 45 minutes to an hour, I guess, just depending on, how long it takes me to go over all the articles. And then hopefully it'll be a fun way for you guys to engage with the articles and give me your thoughts on it, and we can kind of talk about it together. So this is the first episode, so it's a bit of a trial run. We're going to see how it goes. I have a few trailers that I want to talk about, but we're not going to actually watch the trailers themselves just because of copyright reasons and stuff. I don't know exactly how that'll work. But in the future, we can definitely look into that. So this is just a trial run, so we'll see how it goes. So, let's share my screen here, and we'll talk about the first article we got here. So the movie Sing Sing, I don't even know when this came out. Earlier this January of this year, I want to say, or last year. So it's been almost like a full year. I have no idea. This thing's been out for a while, but it hasn't been widely available. I was able to see it. I got a screener for it. Really good movie, made my top 10 of 2024. But I thought this was really cool. It's being released in theaters and prisons simultaneously, which is the first time that's ever happened, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the first movie is simultaneously available to nearly 1 million incarcerated people across the U.S. And this is through a program called RTA, Rehabilitation Through the Arts. It's a real thing, like in the movie. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was a really wholesome thing. The movie itself is like a really good, feel-good kind of movie. So I think it's really cool that A24 is doing this and allowing people in these situations to get to watch it. So see themselves in a story of resilience and transformation, feel inspired to imagine new possibilities for their own lives. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was just really nice. Can't imagine this sort of thing will happen very often, but just because of the subject matter in the movie itself, feels very appropriate. So if any of you guys have managed to see this movie, let me know what you thought of it. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one here. Got the Criterion Collection announcements for April. Now, the big one here is Anora, obviously. It's a big movie, big Oscar contender. So this one naturally has a lot of people talking. The cover art is supposed to be like an homage to this vampire movie that Sean Baker is a fan of, I think. I can't remember the exact name of it. But I saw like a side-by-side. I wish I had that up, actually. So yeah, that's why the cover is not like any other poster that we've seen before. So yeah, I thought that was cool. I think it's always cool when Criterion releases new contemporary movies into their collection. They do it with Neon a lot. They did it with Triangle of Sadness, and there's another one recently, but I can't remember it. They also have this other Sean Baker movie called Prince of Broadway that I haven't heard of, but I think it's one of his very early movies. So that's cool. That's cool that more of his movies are getting into the collection. Then we also have this Basquiat movie, which I've been aware of for a long time. It's got a really great cast. Dennis Hopper, Gary Oldman, Christopher Walken, Benicio del Toro, David Bowie, Jeffrey Wright. Crazy movie, and it's about the artist Basquiat. I want to see that one day. It looks really good. It's been on my watch list forever. And then we have Chung King Express. I think this is a 4K. This was available previously in a big Wong Kar-wai box set, but obviously if you don't want to spend upwards of $100 on that, you'll be able to get this individually. And then we have this is like a double pack from a French filmmaker, Claude Berry. Is that what that says? I've never heard of this, but yeah, looks cool. So yeah, all in all, pretty good, solid slate of announcements for April. Nora obviously being the centerpiece there, so that should be cool to see. And then let's move on here. This one's interesting. Gremlins 3 is in development at Warner Brothers alongside a reboot of the Goonies. So Warner Brothers is like creatively bankrupt. All they're doing is like recycling their same IP over and over and over again. They recently made their like Lord of the Rings movie, The War of the Rohirrim, which was strictly made so that they could retain the rights to Lord of the Rings. They're doing their new Harry Potter series. And so this news is not surprising to me. And it's not to say that I'm not. Obviously, I will see these if and when they ever actually come out. But, like, what does a Goonies sequel look like? I haven't actually read this article because I don't imagine that there's, a lot of actual information about it other than the fact that these things are in, like, the very early stages of pre-production. The cynical part of me says that these will probably not be good because they're just being cynical. Like, it's not to say that something that's made cynically can't also be of merit, but I don't know. My initial impression is that I can't imagine this being very good. So much of what makes these movies great is there's that 80s connection that they have to that sort of style and sensibility. So I don't know what a modern Goonies or Gremlins looks like, but I can't imagine it's very good. So after that, we have Fede Alvarez is actively developing ideas for the Alien Romulus sequel, which I'm really glad is moving forward. I feel like so often we hear that like things are getting sequels and then like they don't come out for a really long time. And that's not to say that this probably won't come out for a while, but I don't know. It looks like things are moving pretty quickly. It was a box office success, it says here. I just think of things like Batman 2, where like the sequel for that was announced pretty quickly after, and apparently that's not coming till 2027 now, so like a 5-year gap there, which sucks. So hopefully we don't have to wait that long for Alien Romulus 2. And so if you've seen Alien Romulus, then you know that it's a lot of like I really liked it, but it was definitely safe, and it had a lot of things that maybe we've seen before, just done really well. So hopefully that means that, I think it'll be so exciting to go with characters from this movie to place in the Alien franchise that we've never been before and to discover things that you've never seen before. So this was essentially, Romulus was Fede kind of letting people know that they could trust him with the IP, and it was financially viable with the studios. So you check both those boxes, and now Fede's like looking to get a little crazy, which I think is going to excite a lot of people because, like I said, Romulus was pretty safe, but a very, very good version of safe. I don't want to use safe in a derogatory sense, but so I'm excited. Hopefully we get to see this sooner rather than later. Let me know what you would like to see in a sequel to Alien Romulus. I'm just happy we're getting more Alien content, quite frankly. Okay. So we recently got a release date for Final Destination 6. We've known that this was coming this year. It's called Final Destination Bloodlines. It's coming in like May, I think. Might have a date here somewhere. But I think this is cool. We should be getting a trailer for this soon. We got like a teaser poster. It was just like some text, nothing really fancy. I imagine we'll get an actual poster alongside the trailer. So that'll be cool. Final Destination is a fun series. I'm excited to have these coming back. I enjoy all of them except the fourth one, which is just a really, really atrocious movie. I don't really know what happened there. but 5 is quite good. So, you know, being 4 for 5 is not a bad record. So um whenever we do get the trailer for this, we can discuss that on like next week's episode of this. So we'll keep an eye out for updates for that. So not much else to say other than that a trailer is coming, and that'll be coming later this year. So now we've got some Scream 7 news. We got like 2 articles here regarding Scream 7. This movie is bringing back Jasmine Savoy Brown. She's like one of the last holdouts as far as who's been announced for this movie. Mason Gooding is back. Sydney, obviously. I don't know if Courtney Cox has been confirmed. She may have been, but pretty much everyone but oh yeah, so Courtney Cox is back. Roger Jackson. It would help if I read the article, wouldn't it? Yeah. So as far as how I feel about like Scream 7, I'm not excited about it. Quite frankly, I think this whole thing has been kind of bungled. Like getting rid of Melissa Barrera, like the lead of this, what should have been her trilogy, just feels, leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And then not having Jenna Ortega, who has a lot of star power, it just feels like they're desperate to try to salvage this series by like trying to appeal to the fans by having Kevin Williamson direct. They probably backed up the truck of money to Neve Campbell's house to get her to come back. So, but there's just going to be a big gaping Melissa Barrera-sized hole in this, as well as Jenna Ortega. I don't know how you have Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown back, but not those two. Like they're literally the core 4, and half of the core 4 is gone. So, I'm not super excited about this, frankly. Hopefully it's good. Like, obviously I'm going to see it. I will, there's no way I won't see it, but yeah, I don't know. All the news I'm seeing just kind of nothing has really been exciting to me, to be honest. So that leads us right into Joel McHale has been cast to play Sydney's husband, which diehard Scream fans have been super not happy about this news, because it was very heavily indicated that Patrick Dempsey would be coming back from Scream 3. And, it was really, I believe in Scream 5, they have like a throwaway line where they say Sydney has a husband named Mark, who is supposed to be, it's assumed by audiences that it's Mark Kincaid, who's Patrick Dempsey's character. But they gave themselves an out, which is, I guess, thoughtful of them. But they gave themselves this out where it's Mark, but I guess it was a different Mark than the one that we all thought it would be, which is super disappointing. And quite frankly, like Joel McHale is just kind of a goofy dude. I don't think anyone really wanted him. Like obviously all the fans wanted Patrick Dempsey, and he was just in Thanksgiving, which was another slasher movie from a couple years back. So like all signs pointed towards him being into doing this kind of thing, and just not the case apparently. So yeah, this is just odd to me. It seems like an odd casting choice. Like I don't really think of him as Patrick Dempsey just has that sort of quality to him. He's like a very very steadfast, make you feel safe. Joel McHale just like looks like he's gonna joke about stuff. Not someone to be taken very seriously. So I don't know. I'm a pretty casual Scream fan, so I'm not overly, upset about this one way or the other. But yeah, so that's the Scream news. This movie's coming. Whether we are excited about it or not. So I'm sure a lot of people are, but to me, it just seems like a lot of damage control being done. And, I guess we'll see how it shakes out, but I'm not super excited about it. Um, we got a trailer for Daredevil Born Again. Um, this is not. I've never seen the Netflix show that people really seem to like. And I feel like we've been hearing about this show for like 4 years, and I guess it's finally coming out. Yeah, March 4th on Disney Plus. Um, I think initially the plan was for them to not include the Netflix stuff as being part of the lore, which would have been confusing because they seem to be bringing back all of the same actors. But it seems that they've reversed that decision, and that's been satisfying to fans of this show. Um, I don't know. I don't think I probably won't watch this, but this is news for people you know, who do so, or who do like this sort of thing. I'm pretty out on this sort of stuff right now. Superhero stuff just doesn't really do much for me. But yeah, check out this trailer if you're excited for this. This is something that you can go and check out and be excited for. We got some. Speaking of things that I'm pretty ambivalent towards, we got some new looks for Avatar: Fire and Ash. They're expanding the world a bit with this one. They're including this like nomadic tribe of wind people, which is cool. You're kind of seeing all of the different elements being represented in the Avatar world. Obviously, we had the Way of Water 2.5 years ago now, however long ago that was. And this one's going to introduce the wind traders, and there's these giant jellyfish things. And there's also a race of like, excuse me, there's also this race of like fire Navi. So, yeah, the Ash clan. So this will be cool. I think these movies are fine. They're a big box office draw. They're very spectacle filled, which I think is cool. It definitely has a place in theaters, but it's just not the kinds of movies that I like rewatch often. But yeah, I'll definitely be seeing this. I like I said, these things are really cool. They're like designed to be seen in theaters, and it looks like it's cool that they're expanding the world. So that should be fun to see. Okay, this is just kind of silly. David Howard Thornton is starring in another low budget horror movie. He was in that Grinch movie, that Grinch horror movie, and now it looks like he's being cast as Steamboat Willie in Screamboat. So, I mean, this image is just ridiculous. To be honest, this doesn't really spark any kind of excitement on my end. But I think it's cool that David Howard Thornton is getting to do different stuff. He's not just the Terrifier guy, even if it all is sort of in that same low budget horror genre. That's definitely his wheelhouse. So, yeah, I mean, frankly, I think these things are like about as cynical as you can get. Like all these like movie, like all this public domain shit that's become, public domain recently, like with the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey stuff, and like I said, the Mean One, which is like a Grinch horror movie. It's just so cynical. Like I'm sure that there are talented people who work on these, but the bottom line is these movies are made to make a buck, and that's not to say that filmmaking isn't a business, but one of these things was made and filmed before the property even became public domain, and then they had it ready to film or ready to be released like the day it became public domain, which like I don't even know if that's, I mean, I guess it's legal because they did it, but like that to me is just so cynical. So okay, hey, what's up, Holland? Yeah, same director as the Mean One, so it's probably going to suck. Yeah, I would be willing to bet that this will absolutely be atrocious and nothing that will ever be looked upon as more than just kind of, hey, remember when all these properties became public domain and they made a bunch of shitty horror movies out about them? Like that's all the legacy of these things will be. Like there's nothing of merit, I would say, about any of this. I mean, this image kind of speaks for itself. So, um, we got a trailer for this movie called The Woman in the Yard, another Blumhouse thing. This is from the guy who made The Shallows. He did Orphan. I believe it was the first Orphan. But he also, those two movies are pretty well regarded, I think. But then he also did Black Adam and Jungle Cruise. So, dude's got a spotty resume, in my opinion. He's also made a bunch of like Liam Neeson geezer teasers, just like really, you know, just kind of very generic, like Taken ripoffs, essentially. Lawn based. I didn't even read that. Old Restless. What's up, man? Thanks for being here. Yeah. So I watched this trailer. I wasn't going to, but then I just decided to watch it. Blumhouse's reputation is pretty. They've got more misses than hits these days, I think. At least for me. That's not to say these things aren't financially viable, which of course they are. But yeah, this trailer doesn't do a ton for me. It looks like they kind of thought of what would be a creepy image. Oh, there's someone in the front yard, and then they kind of reverse engineered a movie around that. So that's just sort of the vibe I get. Like I said, Blumhouse, super spotty. I will be seeing this. I will very likely see this. I'm trying to keep an open mind about things, but I have to make assessments based on what I know, and what I know is that this guy's filmography is, it's not the worst, but then you got the Blumhouse of it all, and then the trailer's pretty bland. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you excited about this? Let me know. Yeah, it's whatever. I don't care. Let's see. This was some cool thoughts from James Mangold. James Mangold's doing Swamp Thing for DC. Yeah, Blumhouse is. I mean, I'm willing to give things a try, but I think like just last year they had like 3 just absolute dog shit horror movies. They had Night Swim, they had Imaginary, and they had Afraid, I think, which is like the AI horror movie, which not great. But so James Mangold is doing Swamp Thing for DC, and I'm excited to get a Swamp Thing movie because I think it's an IP with some potential, and I like James Mangold. The guy's got a lot of range. He's really diverse filmmaker. He's done a lot of different like genres of movie, and he's a guy that I think he's got some sauce. He's got some juice, and the way he talks about how he wants to do Swamp Thing in particular has me even more excited, because I'm already pretty excited about where DC is going as far as like hiring directors with a vision and letting them tell their stories, and not being in a rush to, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. All right, now we're doing Justice League. Like they seem like they've learned from their mistakes. It only took them like a decade, but they got there. They hired the right guy with James Gunn, and he's now looking to hire other people. Like I think they got Luca Guadagnino doing one of these things. He's doing some kind of DC thing, I heard. So, which is cool. Like they're actually getting actual filmmakers, which is like the problem Marvel has, where like the director of any given Marvel movie just doesn't matter because it's just directed by Marvel. Like there's no sort of flair anywhere. But he says, while I'm sure DC views Swamp Thing as a franchise, I would be viewing it as a very simple, clean, gothic horror movie. That's where I got my hackles up right there when he said gothic horror movie about this man/monster. Just doing my own thing with this, just a standalone. So even though this is going to be part of like the larger DC universe as a whole, he's really taking the auteur approach to it. James Mangold is a guy who like the story informs his directing style. Like he's a bit of a chameleon because he's able to kind of adapt to things. So a gothic horror movie about this man monster Swamp Thing it has me excited. I think this has a lot of potential to be really cool. Um, yeah, that's funny he says this. I was actually just thinking he's kind of making a sort of Frankenstein movie with this IP. So even though he's doing this, obviously, if it's done, if it's successful, DC has agency to do with it whatever they want, and they could potentially make more Swamp Thing movies after he leaves. But hopefully, if he is so inclined, he'll be able to do future ones as well. So I think that's pretty cool. James Mangold he's also supposed to be doing a Star Wars movie. Um, yeah, so Dial of Destiny was like perfectly fine. I don't think he was the problem necessarily. I think the problem started from Inception, where they decided to make an Indiana Jones movie where Indiana Jones is 80. Like nobody wants to see 80-year-old Indiana Jones. It's kind of like a James Bond thing. Like nobody would want to watch an Indiana Jones movie or a James Bond movie where James Bond is an elderly man. It's the antithesis of of the character. And so they tried to like lean into that and like make that what the movie is about, and they did their best, but it's like that's another one that was just made. That's a cynical movie as well. I mean, they made it because they thought it would make money. I mean, that's why they make any movie, right? But the fact that they didn't think like, you know what, we probably should have done this like 10, 15 years ago. So, the time has kind of passed. So, but I don't think Mangold was the problem with a Dial of Destiny. So, yeah, no release date planned yet. James Mangold is also doing a Star Wars movie, set in the far past that would deal with the origins of the Jedi. So I'm pretty out on Star Wars too these days, but if they can do that right, that has potential to be cool. So I guess we'll see. Next we have this trailer for Until Dawn came out. This is a series of games that I've never played, but I've heard the really good things about them. Excuse me. Yeah, people really hold this series of games like in high regard. They're essentially just movies, from what I understand, where it's almost like a choose your own adventure, where you kind of get to have some agency as far as how the story plays out. So I mean, that seems like it would be well suited for a movie, but then you also have to think like, well, why does this need to be a movie? Because it already kind of is an interactive movie. So I don't know. But the thing is, it's directed by David F. Sandberg, who is a guy that I don't really think has all that much. How do I put this? He's not the best horror filmmaker. I really admire him because he started out making like short horror films on YouTube, and he was able to leverage that into a career in Hollywood, which is about as cool of a story as you can imagine, right? But personally, I haven't really loved any of the horror movies that he's made, and he also did the two Shazam movies, which are the two Shazam movies. So people are upset about this because it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the games. It's sort of inspired by them, but yeah, right here, it does not follow the storyline nor feature the same cast of characters. So that's always a good sign, right? It's like when they make Resident Evil movies, make six or seven of them without those later started to include characters from the games, but the point is like that first movie was just its own thing. And it's okay, but I would have rather seen something more accurate and more faithful. So this doesn't seem super likely to appease many people, especially if you're like a diehard fan of the series. Yeah, the whole series is a love letter to horror, completely honors the spirit of the game. Yeah, I mean, I guess the fans of the game will have to be the judge of that, right? No, this has potential to be good. Because the problem is like with a game that already has a story that people are already familiar with, making a movie that just adheres to that story like one to one, you lose some of the the unpredictability of it. So in a sense, I do think this is kind of the way to go with this particular franchise because there's like 3 or 4 of these, I think, and they're kind of like an anthology series. It seems to be. So by making the movie sort of just another installment in that anthology, I think that might be the way to go. But like I said, I'm not a super diehard fan, so it'll be up for them to decide. So yeah, that's Until Dawn. Hopefully that is good. Hopefully people enjoy that. Um, and then we got our last news article here. This one I'm pretty excited about, not because of the movie itself necessarily, but because of the precedent that it could potentially set. So Greta Gerwig is doing Narnia movies, and she's doing them for Netflix. That was the big deal she signed after the smash success of Barbie. But the problem was that Greta Gerwig wants movies to debut in theaters. I think most filmmakers do, right? Most filmmakers would probably say that given the choice, they would rather their films come out in a movie theater and not just on Netflix exclusively. So Netflix has decided to allow her movies, this Narnia movie, to play in IMAX theaters Thanksgiving 2026, 2 weeks before the movie comes to Netflix for the rest of us. So I think this is really cool because Netflix is known for being the people who dump things on Netflix. And in order to get like awards consideration and things like that, I think they technically do have to have come out in a theater. So what they'll do is they'll dump it in like 50 theaters nationwide, usually in places that I don't live, so I don't get to see this stuff. Yeah. Part of the agreement, Netflix has a 4-week window for the film before the Netflix debut, but the film technologies company for now is committed to playing Narnia exclusively for 2 weeks, starting Thanksgiving Day 2026. Landmark deal is a win for IMAX, which partners with Netflix as it seeks another limited promotional theatrical run for one of its movie titles. So this is not. I guess this they have had theatrical releases for some Netflix movies before. I think of things like The Irishman was a Netflix movie, wasn't it? I believe it was. And so hopefully what this means is that Netflix will be more willing to release its movies in theaters as well as Netflix. I think of Ryan Johnson's third Knives Out movie that's coming out, and he had expressed some, you know, uh, disappointment that it wouldn't be coming to theaters, right? So what this could potentially mean is that hopefully this can open the door for more filmmakers to get their movies into theaters and not just be dumped on Netflix. Because even though it would be huge for Netflix, this is potentially a movie that, like, her last movie made $1 billion. So this is a movie that could very well be very beneficial and profitable for theaters. And, theaters need all of the big movies that they can get. So I really think a Chronicles of Narnia movie from Greta Gerwig, has absolutely the potential to be huge. And what can happen too is if this movie has enough demand and enough people want to see it, Jesus, get this ad out of here. If enough people want to see it, then if there's enough demand, then they'll maybe expand the release, and people will, as long as there's money to be made, they'll follow the money. That's what these companies do, right? Excuse me. Talking more than I usually do. So I found this to be a pretty welcome headline. Hopefully, I'm able to see this somewhere. Like, I don't have to like travel to New York to see this or anything. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. So that's all of the headlines that I have for you guys today. We actually worked through those a lot faster than I thought we would. So that's good. I guess the shows will be as long as they need to be. And if in the future if I determine that we can watch trailers, excuse me, if I determine in the future we can watch trailers, then that can be a thing that we can do too to kind of lengthen these things out. But yeah, that's all the news that we have to go over today. Join me back again next Sunday night. I'm hoping to continue this series every Sunday night around this time where we discuss all the new headlines, and then hopefully anyone in the chat can feel free to chime in and share their thoughts on any given headline. So that's it for episode 1 of The Dispatch. This is going to be weekly going forward. So yeah, keep your eyes out for this show. Definitely going to continue doing this as long as I'm able to, and as long as there seems to be interest. So want to try out doing some live shows just on my own without my buddy Tyler. We do the Talks from the Shelf. I guess you'd call it a podcast. We do that at least once a month, sometimes more. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Old Restless. This was a short show. This is just the first one. We're still figuring things out, and I'll probably have even more headlines for you guys next time. So thanks to everyone who joined, and take care and watch more movies.